what's going on, everybody? Welcome into Steelers Now Postgame. I am Zachary Smith. Joining me, Alan Saunders, on location at Lucas Oil Stadium, where the Steelers fall to the Indianapolis Colts by the score of 27-24. We're obviously getting into all your comments, all your questions, all stuff like that. First one right off the bat. Refs hosed us right off the bat from Brennan. But Alan, I want to ask you, just like on the surface, first thoughts after this thing.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly kind of had a bad feeling about this game coming into it. I kind of knew that Steelers weren't playing. I said the Steelers weren't playing as well as their record indicated, and the Colts weren't playing as badly. Steelers weren't as good as their record indicated. The Colts weren't as bad as their record indicated. I think you kind of saw all that catch up today. The Steelers didn't execute particularly well, especially in the first half on either side of the ball. I don't really feel like this is a game where you can kind of sit here and say, the Steelers lost this game. They lost it themselves. I don't think the Colts are particularly good. They just did not play very well. To a man, it's really hard to sit here and say who had a really good game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Cordell Patterson before he got hurt.
Anybody start to finish now.
Pat Freiermuth, I guess, was pretty good. There's not Cam Hayward. I thought was excellent, but there's relatively few guys on the Steelers team that can sit here and say for 60 minutes I did my job. And when that's the case, you lose more often than not.
Yeah. One word, pain. Justin played like Hercules in the second half. I think we do have to talk about Justin Fields' play in the second half of this football game. Steelers need a true wide receiver to ASAP. I mean, everybody's thoughts all over. And this is exactly, Alan, this is the first one that we're doing after a loss, obviously, with the Steelers falling to 3-1. I had a feeling that the comments would kind of be this way. Everybody throwing different things at the wall here. But let's talk about Justin Fields in the second half of this football game, especially. Didn't think he was very good in the first half, but again, nobody was very good in the first half. But in the second half, I thought that he took significant strides. I thought he put the team on his back at times. I still thought that the playmakers were letting him down. I mean, to have that George Pickens drop on a touchdown, just follow it right back up, getting his second rushing touchdown of the game, 3 straight touchdown drives for Justin. And who knows how that final drive would have gone if not for that bad snap with Zach Frazier. So I'm not going to say, I saw some people saying he put on a cape in the second half of this football game for this offense. I did think he was very good in the second half, specifically in the fourth quarter, late third quarter into the fourth quarter. But again, we're not talking about a 60-minute performance here, but I do think he was very good in the second half.
I thought the second half showed something that we haven't seen yet, right? And we haven't seen him get into a situation where the Steelers needed to throw. They needed to score quickly. They could not be methodical. They could not lean on their ground game. And he still moved the offense down the field. And we haven't seen that yet. So I think in one regard, that's a very positive sign. On the other hand, you cannot score 3 points and a half against the Indianapolis Colts and expect to win a game. You're just not going to. You can't have that bad of a half. And then even in the second half, the play where he fumbles the football, this is where I'm not trying to get into a PFF rant here, but you almost can't grade that play because it's so bad that that's probably the worst play of the season. Because it's a combination of a physical goof and the world's worst possible decision making, and you're not going to do any worse than that. It's really hard. You just can't have those. They were lucky it didn't hurt them, but that cost them 3 points. There were about 6 plays in this game where the Steelers could have had the 3 points that they lost by. That was one of them. Spencer Anderson and Broderick Jones picking guys off the pile for a personal foul. There was George's fumble. There was I feel like there's at least one more in here too. There were several plays where they could have picked up the 3 points they needed to keep this game going. And there's 53 guys that earned this loss, basically.
We're keeping a minimum of 3 off the board. I mean, Joey Porter Jr. had a couple attempts for interceptions there. Patrick Queen could have recovered a fumble. I mean, there were so many times. I mean, this team just shot themselves in the foot for the better part of this football game. Certainly in the first half. Again, I thought the second half was better.
Oh, Minka's personal foul. That's the other one. That's probably punting if he doesn't take that penalty. So there's another one.
Yeah, there was a lot up and down this football game. But certainly, there's a lot of Justin Fields talk in here. Deshaun Elliott played well. Said Josh, I thought he made a couple plays around the line of scrimmage for sure.
He was good. Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of this stuff I'll have to go back and watch and see. GP fumble killed us. Yes, of course. Why can't every other running back on this team get a massive hole, but Najee gets hit right at the line of scrimmage?
I don't really think that's what's happening. I think, Najee's not running with a lot of burst right now. I don't really know why. I don't know. I didn't think he was very good in this game.
13 carries, 19 yards.
Catching the ball, he looked okay out in the flat, but I didn't think he was very good in this game. I don't think it was all the blocking.
Joey, Russ QB1 next week.
Get him healthy first. I don't know. He doesn't look that close to me.
Really? Okay.
I still can't run a bootleg. That's a low bar to be able to, I'm going to execute a fake after a handoff. I think I'm asking for a lot there. If you can't do that, how are you going to play in 6 days? I don't know.
Brennan mentioned Tomlin kicking a 62-yard field goal at Acrisure last week. They would have had a similar distance this week, and they decided not to and had Corliss Waitman punt. Any thoughts on that?
62 yards was on the last play of the half, and this was 59. Yeah. You're giving the ball away with a lot of time left if you don't make it. Also, that 62-yarder would not have been good from 59. I don't think I'm ever going to criticize someone for not trying a 59-yard field goal. 62 was a throwaway.
Yeah. Thoughts on Beanie Bishop? Can't really get a read on him. Seems to be either high or low, says Sean.
I thought he had a pretty rough game today. The final touchdown was his fault. He was in the wrong defense. The Peyton Wilson, I thought, struggled.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
I thought the young, it's such an experienced defense, and I thought Shane Steichen, kind of give him some credit because he found sort of the weak links in there, and he really, and you have a really veteran quarterback like Joe Flacco. I think that's kind of the game plan you have to have. He's not going to wow you with his arm or his athleticism. You're going to have to hunt and peck at the weak points, and I think he found them. I think the Colts offensive line gave him enough time to do that too. Flacco, obviously, not very mobile anymore. I thought they did a nice job. So not a lot of pressure. You don't want to blitz a guy like Flacco because he's just going to eat you alive if you blitz him. You got to get there with 4, and especially after Herbig got hurt, I don't think they got enough pressure with 4 guys.
Yeah, I was going to bring up it seems to be a lot of miscommunication. I mean, how many times did we see today Patrick Queen upset about something that was going on, whether it was with Joey or somebody else? It just seemed like there was a lot of miscommunication. I thought the zone coverage was pretty poor, their gap control. I think there was a lot of problems today, communication-wise, on the defense.
Yeah, I don't really know why. That's kind of one of those things you kind of got to go back and look and see. But there was definitely multiple miscommunications, misassignments on the defense. And Flacco's the kind of guy that's not going to miss those. He's going to take the free ones you give him. And so they gave him too many free ones, especially 3rd and long. They were playing really well on 1st and 2nd down. They get them in 3rd down. They couldn't have been off the field. Late in the game, they were 8 of 13. I don't know how they finished, but it was 8 of 15. They finished on 3rd down. I'm not sure the Steelers had given up 8 3rd down conversions in the last 2 games. That's not good enough. And I don't think it was. Again, some of it, they got some nice matchups. Downs the Steelers don't really have a good player to put on Downs right now, but this team isn't that good.
Yeah, Josh Downs' 3rd highest yardage total of his young career in this game today. Something that I was going to ask you about, this isn't in the comments. It's a question from me more so than anybody else.
You are allowed to have those as many as you want.
Just the way the offense played in the second half, even after a loss, do you still feel better about them on the offensive side of the football despite today's result than you maybe did even in the first 3 weeks?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't think I feel better about 2 turnovers and needing to come back from 3 scores down against the Colts because you didn't score 3 points the whole first half. I mean, It's very inconsistent. I think they did show us some things that they haven't shown, but I don't.
Mhm.
I would not feel. I would not come out of this game feeling better about this offense. Not
Yeah,
really.
I think for me, the bigger thing than anything else is like more, especially more than one result. Don't get me wrong. I think there's things to be concerned about, obviously, on both sides here, but is the mounting injuries. I mean, you see Nick Herbig go down for a bit today, and he came back in, but was that just out of necessity to have him in there? Like, does he maybe not return to this game if they have a healthy Alex Highsmith or more bodies at the position? I don't know. Cordell Patterson, James Daniels. I mean, you hope you get Isaac Seumalo back next week, but the injuries just continue to mount for this team.
Yeah, they were playing that game with two rookies and a guy playing really his first season of football across the center of the offensive line between Anderson, Frazier, and McCormick. That's hard to do, man. I mean, James Daniels had been doing so much to keep those young guys just centered and not screw up. And like, look, that the bad snap at the end of the game, does that happen if Daniels is in there? I don't know, probably not. Like, it's there's a cumulative effect of those injuries, and the depth keeps getting worse the next time you need to call someone up. And yeah, the injuries are absolutely concerning. Not as much on defense, but on offense. Like Patterson, I mean, they probably win the game if Patterson stays healthy. He was running, he had great bursts. Like they really had something there. And then as soon as they get that going, he gets hurt. They don't have Warren. So, like, I mean, like Aaron Shamplin caused a delay game penalty. You want another 3-point like goof. Like that was right before the
Yeah, he walked up
that
to
was right
Justin with like 3 seconds left on the play clock. I'm like,
yeah.
oh my, yeah.
That was right before the fumble, right? So like that caused the 3rd and long, which caused the fumble. Like it's just there's so many plays where they could have done it themselves and they just never did.
Yeah, a lot of things seem to be compounding on this team. Once one thing goes wrong, it just seems to be like a domino effect. And certainly they don't have the high power on the offense side of the football to make up for that. Victory Asher says today's game really highlights how important Alex Highsmith is to this team. Yeah, I thought especially early on, we were seeing them kind of I don't want to say washed away, but they were definitely running towards Nick Herbig's side and trying to expose that part of his game. And we kind of had questions about how he was going to hold up in that regard over the length of a football game.
Obviously, he gets hurt, and then it's
Yeah,
really
sure.
not
Yeah.
looking great. I thought that him and Queen on the same side was a struggle. I thought when Peyton Wilson was in there, he struggled. They did not do a great job, I think, fitting the run. They really did not do a good job covering underneath. I think that was the big problem that was exposed in this game by the Colts offense. I don't know how much of it was just, guys not playing well, but yeah, Alex Highsmith is a really good player. The people that are like, oh my God, trade Alex Highsmith. I'm like, that guy's borderline Pro Bowler. Like, you want him. Trust me. He's real good.
And also, I mean, the people saying that aren't even thinking about the financial ramifications of
He
doing
just signed
so.
into a contract extension. Yeah.
Right. The facts mob here. PQ playing like a blind dog in a meat house. This is like I feel like this is kind of along the same lines of like a Mike Lang call here.
Yeah,
This analogy.
I mean, I talked to PQ after the game. He kind of said, like, look, the communication is on me. I'm the Mike. I'm making the calls. Like, I got to get everybody in the right spot, and we're not getting there. I didn't think physically PQ had a bad game, but I mean, you can put at least some of, he put them on himself, but I'm just saying you can put at least some of the miscommunication on defense on the guy making the calls. I think that's fair, whether it was his fault or not. Like, I don't think either the 2 touchdowns where he was kind of in the vicinity were supposed to be his guy. I'm actually sure they weren't, but like in general, I thought he actually fit the run a little bit better today than he had in the past. I don't think Patrick Queen was the problem. I thought it was mostly 41, 51, and like just sloppiness in general.
You said you talked to Patrick Queen today. That's actually kind of where I want to go for the next couple minutes. Is just to like maybe did anybody in the locker room give you anything you feel worth mentioning on here post game?
Yeah, a couple. Talked to Spencer Anderson. He said that was the first time he played right guard since OTAs. Which, I mean, I think when you take that into account, like, I don't think the offensive line was great, but man, they sure weren't bad. Talked to Cam Hayward a little bit about the play where he had Joe Flacco around the waist, and I think Cam expressed a desire for the whistle to be blown there. That he's like, what's going to happen is if he doesn't throw that, someone's just going to take a roughing the passer penalty. Like there's nothing else the defense can do. If they really want to protect the quarterback, they got to blow the whistle. I agree with Cam 100% there. Talked to Minka Fitzpatrick about his penalty. He doesn't seem to think it should have been one. He was pretty forceful. Probably going to get a letter about his comments, I would say. Next paycheck a little bit lighter. But he said, you're not allowed to play football. You're not allowed to be violent. I get it. I understand Minka's frustration. I think when you watch that play live, the impact of that collision on a ball that was not even competitive and long after it hit the ground, I think that gets called almost every time. I know when you slow it back down.
To be honest, though, Adonai Mitchell alligator arms that, though, to be fair.
Well, that's part of it, though. Like, he could not have caught it. Like, it was out of bounds. Like, and so no contest catch. You hit him that hard. I understand you slow it down. You didn't hit him in the head. I don't think it matters. You hit somebody that hard, going that fast on a ball that's nowhere near him. I think you're getting that flag almost every time. I think you got to be smarter than that. And you got to play with your head up to know that he's not going to catch it, which he did not.
Yeah, that's fair. A lot of people also bringing up Roman Wilson. I mean, is this just going to be a week-to-week thing? You think, like, until he actually gets a helmet, we're probably going to field questions about what's going on with Roman Wilson. When will we see Roman Wilson? I'm done trying to predict when it's going to happen. Whenever they feel like he is one of their 4 best options at receiver, he'll get a helmet.
Yeah, I mean, I assume at some point they're going to feel good enough about the rest of their positions to go back to having 5 wide receivers. That's kind of the norm. And when that does, he's going to get in. I think they should have carried. I was a little surprised it was. Did Terrell Edmonds even play? Like he dressed, but
he was the one for sure when Flacco slid just short of a first down. He was the closest defender. I actually did a nice job to not make contact with Flacco because I was like, oh god, he's going to get a 15-yard penalty on this.
To me, I wouldn't have dressed Edmonds, but I'd have been calling up another outside linebacker from the practice squad so that they had some depth there. I mean, Peyton Wilson was over there getting the pep talk from Denzel Martin. Like, somebody else gets hurt outside linebacker. You got to go in. Like, that's not ideal. He wasn't playing that well at his real position in that game. I'll just say this. I don't think Roman Wilson was the next guy to get a helmet either. I think it would have been a practice squad linebacker before him. So they got to get everything else figured out. They got too many injured guys right now. That's part of it. And you're carrying 4 guys on the roster that you're all got hurt. You got to find a way to deal with that. But look, Roman Wilson is not going to fix one thing about this offense. He's not going to help. He's not the savior that you think he is. He's going to come and he's going to play 10 snaps and he's going to get 2 targets. And like that's it.
I mean, for me, it's more about like I've said, I feel like for the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, it's just like about getting his feet wet at this level because you're going to want to get a look at him at some point anyways. Like I just feel like I would rather start that now and get him a helmet on game days, even if it is 10 to 15 snaps, whatever it might be. And I feel like one of my bigger issues for the receivers has been their run blocking. And I know that he at least has the desire to do it. Like we go back and watch the Michigan tape. It's there. I don't know that I can say. Yeah. So I trust him more to be able to give them something in that regard and maybe elevate the run game on the perimeter a little bit more. He's not going to single-handedly do that, obviously, but it's somebody that can contribute in that facet that we haven't seen in that room.
Sure. I mean, he can do that. I don't, the no special teams part of it is the real killer because they got to have Calvin and they got to have Scotty. And there's just there's only so many places you can put them.
Miguel brings up obviously the snapping issues, which kind of synced any hopes that the Steelers had of a comeback bid. I know that there were a couple plays afterwards, but they get the ball back, they get momentum down 3. You feel like with the way that they had turned things on offensively and the way Justin was playing in that quarter, that you had a good amount of faith that he'd be able to get him into field goal range. And then that snap happens and it goes to a 2nd and 21. Following that. And this is obviously something that's been going on with Zach Frazier and Justin Fields for weeks now, going back to training camp, the preseason. We've been talking about it time and time again on here. And they're probably all individually going to take the blame for why that was the case. So it's really hard to know exactly what was going down. But I mean, post game, what did each one of them have to say if you were in on those scrums?
Yeah, I mean, Frazier just said, "I got the tap. I snapped the ball. I don't really know." He said he was still in the middle of making his call. He wasn't really ready to snap the ball, so he just was like, "Oh, okay, snap it." Um, Field said it was his fault that he made the motion to snap the ball, and he's got to be ready to go. But when you look at the tape, it doesn't look like anybody touches Frazier. So I don't know.
Right.
I don't know if he felt like somebody tapped him. I don't know. Um, like you got, like I said, you got all rookies in there. Like somebody screwed up. I don't know. Doesn't really matter who. Like these are the things that happen when you're playing rookies. But
So
that's
Zach,
pretty funny. It's like somebody. I think this is probably Zach Frazier's goof, if I'm being honest. But I don't really know. And he said he wasn't really sure why it had happened or what happened. He just said I got tapped and I snapped the ball, and that's it. That's what
okay.
But yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that happens when you're playing rookies. So it is what it is.
Yeah, so never mind. I thought that just based off the past, like I know that they've individually taken the blame for those, but it sounds like Frazier thinks it was more about the tap than anything else. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I want to go here first. Hold on. Wait.
my fault.
So good.
We're tapped at the same time.
This was like the least hostile environment. There were a ton of Steelers fans here. It was louder when the Steelers sacked Flacco on that next to last defensive drive of the game than it was at any point when the Colts scored. There were millions of Steelers fans here. It was not a hostile environment at all.
Yeah, I felt that way as well. But again, like the crowd wasn't able to really be that into, at least through the TV. Like it wasn't necessarily coming through the entire time. Obviously, with the way that the Steelers were playing, it's hard to get them involved. What do you make of? I want to kind of switch this from a Colts perspective, like Shane Steichen versus the Steelers, because I know it's a small sample size, but he seemed to have their number. What did you make of the game that Shane Steichen called?
I thought he did great. I thought the tempo coming out was a difference maker. Steelers said they were ready for it, but they sure didn't look like it. I wasn't in Tomlin, so I don't know if he addressed the challenge or not. But I honestly think when he dropped that challenge flag, that he was going to call a timeout anyway because the defense wasn't set, and the Colts were at the line of scrimmage. And so instead of just calling a timeout, he just threw the red flag just to accomplish the same thing, but maybe you get the play overturned. I thought the tempo was an issue. And then I thought Steichen did a really nice job of just not screwing it up when he got stuck with his backup quarterback. Like you could tell that the game plan changed. Like the things they were doing in the first drive and a half, because I mean Richardson got them all the way down to the 5-yard line or something. The first drive and a half, they moved the ball really well. They didn't really do all that much after that. They just kind of dinked and dunked and messed around and did enough to not lose the game from a 14-point lead.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, especially in the second half, like they were, I mean, execution, obviously part of it as well. They miss a field goal, but just some curious decisions, like game plan wise, even that I was like, they're kind of letting the Steelers hang around in this one when I feel like they could be stepping on their throat.
Yeah, we only had 119 yards in the second half. Like I think the Steelers defense played better. It was just the Minka penalty was a killer. It was an absolute killer. They probably win the game if it's not for that. And they're in the series where Flacco's, I mean, Cam's got him in the grasp and he throws it over his guy's head. Like that easily, I don't want to say that's like the wrong call, but that's a call that could have easily gone the Steelers' way that did not. And I think that's a play that was pretty impactful there. It goes and converts way too many third and longs. It just gave up a third and long over and over again.
Yeah, and you know, somebody Ken here said, why didn't we move away from the zone coverage? It was getting burnt all game.
They did eventually. It took a while. So I think they wanted to be in zone because they wanted to keep bigger people in. And you can't have you saw what happened when you had Peyton Wilson manned against the linebacker, right? But they were trying to respect Taylor. And so they didn't want to be in dime all the time because that's kind of what you have to do if you want to man 4 wide receivers. They played A.D. Mitchell a lot more in this game than they had in their first 3. And that's kind of what you have to do. But they didn't think they could defend Taylor in dime. So they were trying to put – and that's what you're doing. You're playing zone because you got guys who can't really man up against the guys they're covering. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can get away with it. Sometimes you can't. I think the Colts did a nice job of attacking it. I didn't think that their coverage linebackers, like Wilson especially, he didn't do a very good job. Queen, like I said, was okay, but there was just too many miscommunications, too many missed assignments. If you're gonna play zone, you got to talk it up good, and they really didn't.
So I asked you if you felt better about the offense after this performance. Do you feel worse about the defense after this performance going to coming back home to play Dallas?
Yeah, yeah. This was a bad game for the defense. Like they can't give up that many points to Joe Flacco. You just can't. Um, both sides of the ball took too long to warm up to the game. You can't do that. There's, you know, you can get away with it sometimes, but you can't do it reliably. They didn't play complementary football. The Steelers didn't get any takeaways. You cannot be a field goals and turnovers defense if you drop your interceptions. Joey had his hands on one, probably should have at least broken up another one. They didn't get the ball out when they hit Flacco. He's 37 years old. I'm 40. I get hurt just getting off the couch. Hit him. He'll drop it. Like it didn't do it.
Did
And
recover
so
another fumble from Richardson?
two more on the ground, right? That they
Yeah.
didn't recover. Yeah. So you got to get the turnovers. You get the ball out. They didn't get the ball out. The way this defense is built, they're going to give up yards. But they didn't didn't get the ball out. They didn't hold them to field goals. It's not good. It's not good at all.
A couple people mentioned the idea of do they need another edge rusher? Obviously, Nick Herbig was banged up in this one a little bit. Already came in without Alex Highsmith, groin injury, missed a month with that in training camp. Who knows what the absence is going to be this time? But somebody asked specifically within that, Miguel here, about Jeremiah Moon. Do we know anything about where he is at in his return?
He's moving. I don't know. We're not guys on the injured reserve don't really have to talk to us if they don't want to. And I haven't talked to Jeremiah Moon, so I don't really know. It didn't seem like it was like a super long-term injury when he had it. He's kind of been moving the whole time, but I don't really have any clarity at all.
I like this question. Are there things that happen in this game that we should be concerned with when it comes to Dallas next week? Yes.
Yeah, about 50 of them. There are way more things that you should be concerned about that happen in this game that you should not be concerned about. I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I agree. Like, how much of it is just it was one game within a 17-game stretch. Things like this are going to happen, and how much of it is. Yeah,
you're going to play bad games. Like nobody's consistent in this league. Like look around. There's lots of good teams that have a worse record than 3-1 right now. But I think, I think it feels better if you lose a game because, man, the other team was just like too hot. They were too good. Like they were, everything was falling their way and they were perfect and you were pretty good, but it wasn't good enough. If that's the way you lose your games, it is what it is. I kind of feel like that about the Cardinals game last year, right? Like that was probably the best game the Cardinals played all year last year. Like they were awesome. Trey McBride looked like a star. They finally had Murray back. James Conner was running all over the place. Steelers got the quarterback hurt in the middle of the game. Like sometimes that just happens. That was not this. Like this was a backup quarterback on a bad team who beat you. Like that. There's no like. I'm generally the it's not that bad guy, but no, this was that bad.
It was bad. I mean, the first half especially to me felt like the Houston game last year, where there was just like nothing going right from any perspective. Offense bad, defense bad, coaching bad, injuries happening, not intercepting the ball, not getting the fumble recovery, failed fourth down on your own side of the field. I mean, everything that could have possibly gone wrong.
If you want to feel better about it, I guess they did not let what happened in Houston happen, and that they got back in the game. I want to address Miguel here. Roman Wilson is not going to take snaps from Van Jefferson because they don't play the same position. He's a slot receiver. Jefferson is an outside receiver. The only people he can take snaps away from are Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller.
Yeah, unfortunately. Fact Mob said so much for Braden Smith being hurt. He erased TJ. Yeah, they had a good game plan, I thought, for handling TJ. I mean, whether it was the chip and then the leaked out tight end, like they had a touchdown on in this one with Ogletree. Yeah, they were definitely the first of the 4 teams that we've played this year that I felt like really had a preparation for facing TJ Watt.
Yeah, I thought TJ was among the Steelers who did not have a very good game. I don't know why. I thought Smith was good, but I mean, there's been lots of good against TJ over the years, and he is able to impact the game more. They ran away from him all game. I will say that is that they were running
Yeah.
to their left over and over and over again. It was hardly any run to the right. So I think they very clearly were trying to go after Herbig, and then when Herbig got hurt, Leal, and not let TJ Watt wreck their game. And I think they did a nice job of that. Flacco also really good at getting rid of the ball. And if you could teach that, if you could find a way to bottle that, that would be worth a lot because he is about the least mobile quarterback in NFL history, and he still does not get sacked very much against what is a very good defense.
Yeah, at least the last thing I want to bring up, we're going on 30 plus minutes here, so we want to get out of here. But the last thing that I wanted to bring up that I was kind of disappointed in because I fully expected it, I thought we'd get some explosive runs today. You know, their longest rush was 12 yards. Justin Fields had a 12-yard run, as did Cordero Patterson, but that was it. Like, I expected there to be some explosive plays in the run game that just didn't happen. I know that, like, you know, James Daniels getting hurt is obviously going to be a part of that. Then Cordero Patterson gets hurt. Whatever Najee's been dealing with, but like there just weren't the explosive plays in the run game that I kind of expected based off this matchup.
Yeah, I don't know if Najee's 100%. I didn't ask him. He's surly in the best of times, but he sure didn't run like it. And I think the Colts did a nice job of taking some stuff away. I also like there's been so many games over the years where like the Steelers get into it and it's like, oh, this is just going to be a Jalen Warren game. Like Najee doesn't have it, and then like sometimes that builds on itself. Like you can go to something else, and then you make the defense adjust. Then you can go back to the first thing you're doing, and then it's open all of a sudden because you made them adjust. And I think when Patterson went out, not really having anything else, like they were really stuck. They didn't have like Najee clearly didn't have it. What they were trying with him was not working, and they didn't really have a plan B in terms of the running game that they could do. It was just Justin running for his life, like really, and it wasn't a lot of quarterback, like very few designed quarterback runs. It was most of his rushing yards were just running away, and so I mean, Najee looked fast and he ran hard when he got that screen pass. Like I don't think he's gimp or unable to, but certainly didn't look great. And I don't think that's a good sign. Probably see Jalen Warren back next week, though. The vibe I got was that he probably could have played in this game if they really needed him to. I think they thought they could get through a week without him. And then you lose the other guy instead. That Cordell Patterson injury did not look good. I would expect that to be a long-term absence. Him and James Daniels. JD was in a walking boot in the locker room after the game. And I did not even see Patterson, so not great.
What's going on? What's going on right now with these injuries? What did we do? I don't understand what happened here, Alan. All right. But anyways, that's not for you to, we're not doctors. We're not here to diagnose. We'll see what Tomlin has to say about them throughout the week. Monitor that. Anything else that you want to add? Any final takeaways or anything like that before we get out of here?
No, I mean, I think that you're going to lose games like this over the course of a season. You're not going to play well. I like the fight. I think they will be better next week, but this is a bad missed opportunity for this team. They absolutely have to stack wins in the first half of the season. They had a really nice setup if they get through this week. Cowboys banged up at home. Not a very good Raiders team. Very easily could have been sitting at 6 or 7-0, and that makes a big difference. And these hurt. It's probably going to hurt the rest of the year. They got to find a way to now, the coin flip to these games. And this has been I think Mike Tomlin owns a lot of this loss, and these kinds of losses are not new to him. The other part of that is that he usually wins 1 or 2 games a year where you go into it thinking they don't have a friggin' prayer. So I think when you lose games like this, you sure better make it up on the other side.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Alan, tell the people they can find you.
At @Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, and TikTok. PGH Steelers Now sites account, SteelersNow.com. All kinds of stuff there from myself, Chris Ward, Derek Bell, the whole rest of the Steelers Now team. I'll be jumping, and we'll have dudes and duds up here in a moment, and I'll have my takeaways later tonight or tomorrow morning.
There we go. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. We appreciate everybody that was in the live chat. Hit us in the comments still if you're watching back or listening back afterwards. Let us know how you feel about this game. If you have any sense of optimism going into next week because of what the offense showed you, if you feel worse because of what the defense showed you, all that good stuff. We want everybody's thoughts. Again, we appreciate you if you were in here in the live chat or watching or listening back. If you're listening back, be sure to leave us a 5-star review. Subscribe over there. Until next time, for Alan Saunders, I'm Zachary Smith. Find me at Zachary Smith PGH on all platforms. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.